Hey everybody, I'm CitizenRyan. Welcome back to the channel. I've been gone for 3 weeks, and while I was gone, CIG released some really cool developments. So I'm going to explain these different mechanics and give you my thoughts on them. There's also some A2 balance drama. I might touch on that at the end a little bit, give my opinion on that as well. So let's just jump in and see what's new. So this was the last video before CitizenCon. CitizenCon is Star Citizen's flagship event where they talk about development now and in the future, and they typically host a sale, like $5 off starter packs. So if you're interested in that would be a good time to buy. Use somebody's referral code when you sign up to get yourself 5,000 extra UEC and to help them out. If you don't have anybody, feel free to use mine. It's in the description down below. So rivers. This is something that is not really gameplay. It's just a beautiful area to look at. They added cliffs to give more verticality on the edges, and it's said that the same tech is what they're going to use to make roads between cities on planets. So hopefully this gets us closer to that. Maybe that's like, I don't know, a light post or something. I don't know. The next thing is a go-kart track on Orison. This is really an odd one because it's not very gamified. It looks like you just spawn go-karts and drive them around the track at random intervals. I don't think that keeps time. I don't think anything prevents you from driving backwards and griefing the people on the track. So that just kind of looks like a big mesh, but it'll be fun. So I'll check it out and make a video. Maybe we can go race. Join the Discord down below if you want to. Could be a good time. So one of the biggest changes coming in 3.18 is the changes to SBK, or Security Post Kareah. Now in the past, like way in the past, this was the only place you could go to get rid of your crime stat. And so everybody was going there and you had to be really careful and hide. Some of the best experiences I've ever had in Star Citizen are around this place. You hear a door and you're like, oh, somebody's here. And they've tried some stuff with it, like missions, but ever since they allowed you to clear your crime stat at other places around the verse, it's just never really been the same. So what's new for 3.18? Well, level 1 and 2 crime stats, you can just pay off at a terminal, so you don't have to go here to get rid of those crime stats anymore. However, 3 and above have to be cleared only at this one location. And that alone is going to lead to a lot of encounters because the player cap is so much bigger than it used to be. Let's jump into some of the reasons of why it's going to be so different. There will be Crusader Security AI, and they're going to have a permanent presence here. So in order to clear your crime stat, you'll either have to sneak in, which I kind of doubt is going to really happen, or fight your way in and hold this terminal while you try to hack away your crime stat. Now, you're going to have to be avoiding security personnel, but you're also going to have to be avoiding other players who are going to come to the same exact spot and try to do the same thing you are. There are so many layers to this mesh of mechanics. The next layer on top of that is going to be that if you kill enough of the guards, a boss is going to spawn who has a key code. If you kill that boss and get the key code, that will unlock the contraband locker, which is going to dispense valuable drugs that you can run and go sell, or it could be something completely useless, but it's definitely going to lead to some really interesting gameplay around that whole scenario. So thirdly, if you kill enough security guards, you're actually going to trigger a server-wide event. Everyone on that server who's a lawful player is going to get notifications that, hey, Security Post Kareah is under attack. We need your help. You can take that mission and start assisting Crusader Security in defending this station. This is going to be a hot spot for bounty hunters to hang out, security enthusiasts to hang out, and wait for bounties to show up. It's going to be a constant fight in this zone. In practice, I don't know how well all of this is going to smash together, but it looks like the makings of something really interesting. There's people who always talk about wanting to get into the game and immediately fight. This is going to be a perfect place for them to do that. There are some updates being made to prison to try to make it more interesting. There will be places where you can get missions from characters outside of prison. They like communicate with you in there to get you to do missions, and you can kill some NPCs and loot their stuff. But I'll be honest with you, these are all kind of underwhelming in my opinion. There is one video from an amazing channel called Ray's Guide. I'm going to link it right up wherever it goes. This gentleman has come up with the perfect solution to prison. It is amazing. Like, I had to comment in real time as I was watching the video, but I'll give you a quick rundown. I can't recap everything. I don't remember it all. It was so good and I'm leaving so much out, but just go check it out. So some of the proposals that he has for this are: do not give time sentences, instead give merit debt. So it's the same thing, but just make the debt be in merits and not in time. It'll make players feel better about it. It just makes a lot more sense. Make the merits physical and generate them at a terminal. So once you've been in prison and you've had good behavior for so long, then that's going to generate a merit for you. You can collect that merit and go bring it to your room and store it there, which is also where you pay off your debt. This good behavior choice also increased the player's reputation with lawful people outside of prison. You know, you served your time, you're a good person, yada yada. Bad behavior, like escaping or murdering people, doing those other types of missions, can be a way to keep your rep up with the pirate gang you were a part of, or, you know, the more nefarious organizations around the verse. Also, the escape, instead of just being something like a random broken fan, have that be facilitated by corrupt guards who are also the ones giving you missions to take out troublesome inmates and do kind of corrupt things. Then when they trust you enough or you pay them enough, they'll let you through. It makes a lot more sense than just a big squeaky wheel fan that has a button press on it that stops the fan. It doesn't make any sense what's currently there. So overall, I'm glad they're putting effort into prison, but seriously, go watch that video. CIG, if you're here for some crazy random reason, go watch that video. It is so good on prison. So in more news, there's a crash site going to be on Daymar. I'm not super interested in this. The AI have never really worked well for me playing the game. It's just another site on the moon. I do love that moon. I love the sand moon. It might be my favorite place in Star Citizen, so it'll be cool to go look at. But beyond that, I don't know. It's another crash site. So the Siege of Orison platforms are also getting some missions during the downtime while that event is not running. So it'll be go here and kill all these players, or go here and kill this boss, that type of thing. Okay, now this is a big one. We've got our first glimpse of Salvage. Now, this has been a long-awaited feature in the game. This hull stripping gives you the ability to strip the hull of a ship as long as its shields are turned off, and then go back to your ship that is supposedly damaged and spray back that material onto your ship and give you most of your health points back. It's not going to replace an entire wing. If you lost the wing's gone. But if it's still there, just got some holes in it, it'll fill it in and give you some hit points back to that wing. That in general is a really cool mechanic. I love that. However, I can't ignore that this is yet another magic beam in Star Citizen. Now, I understand why a lot of these things are beams. It's an easier way to make the mechanic just work. So I hope this is a first iteration type thing, and in the future it'll change, but I can't ignore the fact that right now we have a health beam, a mine beam, an extraction beam, a cutter beam, a hull scrape beam, a hull repair beam, and a tractor beam. Arguably, there's only a few of those beams that really make sense as beams. A health beam? What is a health beam? Anyway, I'm going to give you my opinion on what I wished hull stripping was going to be. What I was hoping for was more of like a multi-step process. A loop that I think would be amazing would be something like this. So for FPS, you place a gadget like one of the mining gadgets on a ship's hull, and you can tune it to the parameters of that armor, and it starts applying energy to an area. Once the area is ready, let's say sufficiently hot enough, you can go in and use your FPS canister to vacuum up this material. So it's essentially the same thing with just that extra step. And then for using that material to repair your ship, I think of a process similar to cutting out rust in steel, where you cut around the rust and make a good line that you can put a new piece in and weld it on. So in this case, you would cut the line, spray in the new material, and then use a welder that's maybe a part of the tool that you can go along the edge and just make sure that it's on there well. And just like the healing gun has an auto mode and an advanced mode where you can tune the healing mixture, I think repair should be the same thing, where you can use the auto repair and that'll say get you 75% of your health points back for that wing. Well, if you have a salvage ship, you should be able to scan the ship, and then inside at the machine, it should be able to create the right mixture for that ship and eject you a little canister that you can stick in your FPS, repair, and go put the right tuned material back onto that ship. And that should get you like 90% of your hit points back. You know, something like that. Now for ships that are especially made for salvage, you wouldn't have to put a gadget on the ship. The ship has scanners that can scan the metal, tune the beams, and then start imparting the right energy to melt that metal in the area they want to extract from. Once the hull was ready, it can send out an extractor and hoover up all of the material that is there and then store it in the ship to go sell. Just making it a little bit more in depth. Yes, that would be time consuming, but for those who care about it, I think that would be a much more engaging process. It would give people who like salvage a really important job that they could become very good at. And those who don't want to go through this process would just take the material, go sell it, and then land and pay to have their ship repaired. I get this is kind of like a pie in the sky scenario, and I'm not a game developer, so I don't know the mechanics behind it, but something that is a multi-step process I think would be a lot more engaging than what basically looks like mining without the minigame. So speaking of mining, just like the rocks, now ships are going to be populated out in the asteroid belt that salvage ships can go scan for and strip the hull. I wonder if they're going to modify the probability volumes that says if you are a salvage ship, then populate salvage wrecks more often. I don't know. But it'll be interesting to see how many wrecks we see flying around. And hey, if you can't find anything, go to SPK, because there's definitely going to be a lot of shipwrecks there. Which is a very good segue into the last thing they talked about, the biggest change for 3.18, Persistent Entity Streaming, or PES. PES is a huge feature for Star Citizen, and it's going to play super nicely with other innovations like server-side object container streaming. With these two things combined, the universe is really going to start to see the effects of the citizens who are inhabiting it. So PES tracks the state of every single object and variable in the verse and stores it on a global database permanently for anyone in that shard to interact with. This is the location of objects left on planets, the health of your ship and your weapons, the wear state, wreck debris. All of this is going to keep persisting on the shard that it was created on. Server-side object container streaming is what allows the number of entities that are tracked and persist to be immensely larger than it was before, because the server doesn't have to worry about everything. Instead, it only cares about what's currently being streamed to clients. If the server does crash, as soon as it comes back up, the global database will say, hey, here's where everything was, and here's the state that it was in, so you can recover your game. Now, in the short term, a shard consists of just one server. So if the server goes down and you log back into a different server, that's a different shard. So none of the stuff's going to be there. But if you're able to get back into the same server, everything's going to be exactly how it was. And this is the dream of CIG. This is why backers like me are so comfortable with the amount of time it's taking to develop the game. It's kind of funny right now to see everybody else experiencing what we think we've been for the last couple of years, where they overpromise all these features, then they cut them to meet a deadline, and then it doesn't live up to the hype, and it's just an empty husk of a game. Halo Infinite. For so long. Star Citizen is showing the progress you can make when you don't have to conform to those deadlines and you have people invested in your project because you're communicating about where you are and where you want to go. Now, CIG is not perfect with this and they need to adjust. It is so frustrating, some of the things that they do not say that they should have said many months ago. Before PES, CIG spent 5 years developing something they called iCache, which was supposed to be the solution to saving the state of the entities. It proved itself to be way too cumbersome for the servers to handle, so they scrapped it, and over the last 2 years to develop what they call the entity graph, which is this much more efficient way of storing all of this data for the global database to make this work. The reason why I like this game is they didn't give up. Other games are showing that they're incapable of dedicating this amount of resources and time to something this difficult. For Elite Dangerous, it was detailed planets and moons. They said, we're just going to give up on doing this. And even for a game like Starfield, it just shows how difficult it is to make something that can go seamlessly from outer space all the way down to a planet. Is that big of a deal? Probably not for that game, but it just shows like the amazing work that CIG has put into creating these tools to then create the universe. I mean, even with Planets V4, they can now create the entire standard system in 2 weeks. They can have logically determined height maps, allow artists to handpick where objects should be on a planet and paint the entire planet at once. They can even sculpt areas that are specifically tailored to missions in a relatively quick amount of time. And now they can create rivers with the click of a button, with cliffs. Their commitment to stuff like this makes me so excited for systems that they say are coming in the future, like systematic weather, the ground vehicle simulation refactor, which it desperately needs, aerodynamic control surfaces on the spacecraft, which affects flight depending on its shape, and probably the most important one, which is the physicalized damage. That's going to change hit points from time to kill and an explosion of your plane to time to disable, which opens up all sorts of gameplay, like repairing the inside of your ship, repairing the components, replacing the components that have been destroyed while in the middle of a fight, boarding action, and the ship's not just going to explode. Instead, it will only explode if a round happens to go through the fuel tank or through the power plant, which makes a lot of sense and is really cool. People will still probably target it to make that happen, but it's just going to be really neat. Maybe you shut it down and then that prevents it from exploding. I don't know. The future for Star Citizen is very bright, and on October 8th, we're going to see just how bright that is. So with all these changes, that kind of leads to the whole balance issue. This is an alpha, and all those things I just mentioned are going to change everything about the game, especially physicalized damage, which is why kind of this ties into the whole A2 drama thing. For those of you who don't know, there is a architect slash YouTuber creator who made some YouTube videos about the design of the ships and kind of the other spaces you walk around. Following these videos, CIG seemed to listen to him a lot, and I'm really glad they did because it has improved every single one of the ships that we've had since that point. Well, the same YouTuber, Morphologist, was participating in a PvP event called Jumptown. He and his group were attacked by a solo player who was supposedly doing a suicide run with this giant bomb, and they weren't able to stop it. The bomb exploded. So did the other guy, ran into a cliff. And his view about this was that it was unfair. One, because it was a solo player, and two, it was supposedly an unstoppable attack. But when he voiced this opinion and people didn't agree with him in the comments, he was passionate, got a little bit upset at them, and he made some statements that he said he regretted making, just calling people dumb who disagreed with him, which, I mean, people do that all the time. Not that that's good, but people do. In the wake of this, he made a video where he said one of those kind of cliche apologies that says, hey, if you were offended by what I did, I'm sorry for you. Not really, I'm sorry for what I did. And doubled down on the opinion that CIG should nerf this because it wasn't fun. Now, a lot of people got upset with this because CIG in the past has listened to him on the architect stuff. So is this going to mean that the A2 is nerfed? And I'll just give my opinion. No, I don't think so. They're not going to change it. And here's why. For context, the Jumptown event is an event where there is a building that is producing a lot of very high value drugs. So once the announcement's made that this is happening, a lot of people try to fight and compete over that production and then put it on a ship, fly it away, sell the drugs, make money. Some people try to do this solo and fight their way or sneak their way onto a ship and either steal their drugs or steal their ship. Other people, typically big organizations, like to take a very tactical approach to this, and they guard the ground, they guard the sky, they guard space above, and are constantly looking for threats and ready to fight away anybody who tries to get in there and take any profit for themselves. In fact, there's a YouTube channel called Citizen Kate and Will. I'll link their channel here. They're a highly professional group of folks who love to take over this Jumptown event, and watching them work is incredible. They've got people up at OM markers that are calling out if people show up. They've got fighters constantly scanning for large objects that are far away in A2 coming in, and as soon as that threat's detected, it becomes priority number one for that squad to take that thing out. And at the exact same time, the people on the ground lift up and fly away, because if the security forces fail to stop the bomber, then the bomb will just fall harmlessly on the ground. So there are precautions that can be taken to prevent being wiped out by something like this. There was even a suggestion of limiting the height you had to be at to drop, but those don't seem like the right limits either, because it's that person's fault flying the A2 if they drop the bomb too low. The reason is they can blow themselves up if it explodes too quickly. So, you know, too high, too low, it's a sandbox. People are people and they react a certain way, but the truth about the game is there are going to be balance changes and speed changes and damage changes constantly. The only thing that's not going to change is learning and adapting your tactics to the reality. That's always going to be much more important than the specifics about one ship or another. So at the end of the day, it's a learning experience to adjust your tactics and account for whatever the next threat's going to be in the future. Okay, so that was a whole lot, but a whole lot happened and I really wanted to give my opinion on it. So thanks for listening. If you're still here, wow, thank you. You're really helping my watch time. I'd love to hear your thoughts on these topics. So go ahead and comment down below. I read them all and love to have conversations. If you disagree with my opinion, also let me know. I want to hear every reason why you think I'm wrong. I am fully willing to eat my own words here, and I love changing my opinion because there's better information available to me. So let me know what you think. Put the comments down below. If you enjoyed the video, hit like and a sub, and maybe even hit the bell icon. I don't know, it could be cool. If you like Star Citizen and you're looking to get into it, then make sure you use somebody's referral code when you make your account. If you got a friend who showed you the game, use their code. If you don't have anybody, use my code. It's in the description down below. I would hold off on purchasing until CitizenCon, because if you do it then, you might get $5 off the starter pack. And also sometimes they run promotions where if you use somebody's code, then you can also get like a little hover bike or something. It's not a huge thing because you can buy them for like nothing in the game, but it's still kind of cool. Well, thank you for watching this far. Join my Discord. You can become a Star Citizen down there. When I do some filming, I reach out there as well, and we just get together and have a good time. So I've got some upcoming missions I want to create, like a box hub in space. It should be kind of fun. I am CitizenRyan. Thank you for hanging out with me and watching this extremely long video of my opinion on Star Citizen. I will see you in the next video.